Yeah, I think we've suddenly somehow slipped into the political part of the set. This is a song from the Chilean songwriter Victor Jara.
All right.
It's called Te recuerdo, Amanda. I remember you, Amanda. This is actually Dylan adjacent because Phil Oakes had this concert for Chile after Orlando Letelier, the Chilean ambassador, got blown up in Washington, which was actually, this is a weird story. So the one time I ever actually heard Joan Baez do Diamonds and Rust was at a concert for Chile where Orlando Letelier was the speaker. And that was like 2 weeks before he got blown up in Washington. And that was actually a sort of weird experience because Mao Zedong had just died. And I was with a friend of mine who had the distinction of being the only non-Algerian who had fought in the Algerian Civil War, or the Algerian Revolution, Iqbal Ahmad. He was a friend of Said. And this is not a world I spent a lot of time in, but Iqbal was a good friend. And so we ended up at the party afterwards, and he and Orlando Letelier went up to Joan Baez and asked why she had dedicated songs to all sorts of people, why she hadn't dedicated anything to Mao Zedong, who had just died. And I kind of get her point, but she could have phrased it better. She said, "You can check my record. I have never dedicated a song to a head of state," which is a good anarchist position. But I wish she hadn't started it with, "You can check my record." In any case, yes, so then Phil Oakes had this concert, which was actually the first time Dylan had sort of come out on stage in a long time. And he and Dave Van Ronk and Phil asked Dave to sing "He Was a Friend of Mine" for Victor Jara, who had also been killed in the revolution. So actually, let's just get really doleful for a while. I'm first going to do Te recuerdo, Amanda, then we can do He Was a Friend of Mine. This one is, I think I'm probably going to do it tomorrow on Thacker because I don't get on radio a lot, and boy is this a moment when I feel like if I'm going to get on radio, I ought to fucking say something. Because like I got a graduate degree from Tufts University where a grad student was just grabbed by a bunch of masked men and thrown into a unmarked car and sent to jail in Louisiana for signing an editorial in the college newspaper. Yeah. I actually went to jail over in a Palestine protest last year. I'm on board with this. My mother was a Jewish refugee from Nazi Austria. I understand what this is. You know, this is something that I feel reasonably strongly about. And the fact that it's happening here right now is not how I would have liked to spend my 60s. Te recuerdo, Amanda, la calle mojada corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel. La sonrisa ancha, la lluvia en el pelo, no importaba nada, ibas a encontrarte con él, con él, con él, con él, con él. Son 5 minutos. La vida es eterna en 5 minutos. Suena la sirena de vuelta al trabajo y tú caminando lo iluminas todo. Los 5 minutos te hacen florecer. Te recuerdo, Amanda, la calle mojada corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel. La sonrisa ancha, la lluvia en el pelo, no importaba nada, ibas a encontrarte con él. Con él, con él, con él, con él, que partió a la sierra, que nunca hizo daño, que partió a la sierra, y en 5 minutos quedó destrozado. Suena la sirena de vuelta al trabajo, muchos no volvieron, tampoco Manuel. Te recuerdo, la calle mojada corriendo a la fábrica donde trabajaba Manuel.